President Trump has placed a tariff on China, Mexico, and Canada. And people want to know, how is this going to affect cars? And that's where we specialize. They're talking about parts, service, the cost of vehicles.
Yep.
And there's a lot of questions in people's minds. So we did the research for you so you can get it all in one concise package.
Yep, this is absolutely breaking news. So we thought we'd put together this little questionnaire for you so you know what's happening and how this is going to affect you and the cars that you will potentially be buying in the future. So if you like this kind of content and you want to see more like it, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this.
Yeah, we're keeping up on the automotive news because it is breaking quite quickly.
Absolutely.
And I get a lot of questions. The moment this hit, my phone was on fire from all the news stations. So I've been reporting about this, but I thought, let's get it right to you, right from the source, with a little bit longer than a 3-minute package.
Right. So let's start with this one. How will tariffs impact the cost of automobile production, and how will this impact consumers?
Okay, so I think the mainstream media has been telling people they're going to take the window stickers off and put new window stickers on. They're not going to do that. That's the first thing you need to know. They're not going to take off the window sticker on your Camry and put a new window sticker on. However, there are some unscrupulous dealers who will put a little line item in saying that, we got to replace this car. It's going to be more expensive. That's total hogwash. And if you see that, walk away from that dealer. There's other dealers out there. Most dealers are going to say the price is on the window sticker. They're still looking to sell cars. There's tons of incentives. There's tons of 0% finance. So don't let this scare you from buying a car. However, what you will see is prices on some things going up and some you may not see at all.
Yeah, it depends on where the vehicle's built, and that's kind of the biggest thing that's going on here.
Right.
There's actually quite a lot of vehicles that are built in America. And there has been a ongoing battle, an economic battle, for what vehicles are built in Mexico, mostly Mexico, a couple in Canada, but it's mostly Mexico, being a lot of trucks. Almost every Ford is not made here.
Well, the Mustang's made here still.
Mustang's made here.
But the Maverick is not. And then if you're looking at Stellantis, they were going to build product in Mexico, and then they got rid of their CEO. They brought back, thank goodness, their premium performance guy, Tim Kuniskis, who I like. He's a good guy. And he's like, nope, we're reopening the Belvedere plant, 1,500 more UAW employees, and they're going to build a mid-sized pickup truck that's needed. And just before we went live, there was another notification that they're getting rid of some of their senior level executives who are thinking very European and not about bringing cars here. So we're going to see a lot of changes over at Stellantis. But brands like BMW, they build their factories here for the last 30 years. Volvo builds here, Mercedes-Benz, Hyundai, Kia,
Nissan. Volvo is even talking about
Volvo
it.
is in South Carolina. They have for 20 years. So you're looking at, and obviously Honda and Toyota. And so when you're looking at a lot of brands that are building here, it's smart.
And it's mostly the cars that are sold here that are being built here. So
Except for BMW.
Except for BMW.
You're right.
So let's get on to the next one. Can we expect more cars to be made in the U.S. because of this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We've already heard Audi and Porsche are going to bring cars. You know, Porsche's not going to bring the 911 here. Because you're going to buy a 911, you're going to pay the price. You don't care.
And they're probably not going to do that because there's this idea. It's a German car. It's built in Germany. It's kind of like buying a Ferrari that's not built in Italy.
Right. And that's not, Ferrari's not building cars in the U.S. So forget about that one. But when you think about it, what will they sell here if they did? Well, that would be like Audi's building cars for like the Q5 and Q7. They're building them in Mexico. And so they'll probably build those more mainstream cars like the Macan and the Cayenne. And that's fine because they sell a lot of them.
Yep.
So you're going to see other brands looking at this. You won't see Jaguar or Land Rover building here. I just don't see that happening. And people that buy those cars are going to pay the premium. But I think you're going to see more components built here, which will definitely help give us jobs, which will help the economy as a whole. Because what President Trump's trying to do is move everything to tariff-based like we did before 1913, which means no taxes, no federal taxes. I like that. If he could make that happen, I'm a happy girl. That would be nice.
It'll make the cars cheaper, that's for sure.
Well, sure, you'd be able to afford more vehicles.
Yeah.
They say you'd get about an average of $30,000 more in your pocket. I think you'd like $30,000 more in your pocket. I would. You too.
Well, that being said, when can I expect that?
Yeah. Well, this is going to take time.
Yeah. So that really is the kind of the next thing is, big things like that will take time. What about the immediate impact of the tariffs? How quickly are we going to see prices go up if they stay in place? If this turns into an economic battle and not just a threat? Obviously, there's already been comments from Mexico and Canada saying, we're not going to bow to these tariffs.
Well, talk is cheap. So the thing is, we import more from them. That's where they make their money. And that's how Canadians put money into their government. And it's a lot. And if you look at the tariff numbers, it's definitely out of balance. So we have not charged them to bring things in, but they have charged us to bring things in. So as soon as President Trump put 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada and 10% on top of I think it's 40% already in place with China, what ended up happening was Trudeau immediately said, well, we're going to put 25% on you for your orange juice. Well, that's great in shoes and things that we get, but that only hurts their people. Mm-hmm. And it means more supply here in the U.S. for regular goods. But if we're focusing on automotive, a lot of final production is made there. A lot of subcomponents are made there. So that would cause manufacturers to look elsewhere. That takes time, although they typically have more than one supplier. They don't just rely on one supplier, whether it be tires or seats or components. So you're going to see a lot of movement back to the U.S. You're also going to see smaller companies that make subcomponent parts getting quotes for more product here in the U.S. And maybe it costs a little bit more, but they don't want to pay the tariff because that's a lot more. So you're going to see that happening already. It's already been in place. We've already heard about it and seen it.
Yeah. So then how expensive are cars going to get?
Some may not change at all. If they're made here in the U.S., like a Honda, a Toyota, or a Tesla.
But what about for the ones that aren't made here?
Well, that might go up. If you're talking about a Porsche, sure.
Someone wants to get their F-150. It's made in Mexico.
It's made in Canada.
Made in Canada.
At the Oakville plant.
So maybe I was thinking Ram.
Yeah.
But they, they're brought in, and how much more expensive is their truck going to be? Are they going to eat the value because they want to keep their customer?
That's an interesting question. Because a perfect example is we did a reel on our Car Smarts channel, which does all the car reviews of the Bronco Raptor.
Yep.
I own a 22 Bronco Raptor.
It's a great car.
And they brought the 24 over. And we're looking at going, what's the difference?
There's no difference.
They painted the fender flares and they increased the price by $20,000 so they can absorb the tariff fee. As a matter of fact, they already put it in place. The reason that they put the higher prices in was to offset the losses they were taking on electric vehicles. So that's interesting. If they're smart, they'll absorb that little bit because it's not the overall price of the car. You're not looking at a $100,000 car and then add 25%. That's what the mainstream media is telling you. When the truth of it is the subcomponents. If the final assembly has a certain dollar value, that would be a certain price. The metal or the stampings could be done here, or we don't know every vehicle is completely different. Sometimes they can shift production to the U.S., which the Canadian Union won't like. And Mexico doesn't like. Now, Mexico hasn't given a retaliatory comment back. They claim we're going to our plan B. I don't know what that is. Maybe that means sitting down at the table and giving up, which they've done in the past.
True.
China will get mad.
Of course.
They're already tariffing the heck out of our stuff that goes, they don't buy much from us. We buy a lot from them. So therefore, those tariffs could go into our economy, which is what DOGE is working on. And that's, again, a whole other subject that we're not going to get into. But there's a lot to think about. You may not see that much of an impact on prices for most vehicles.
Okay, great. So then what can we expect going forward? What do you think is going to happen here with the retaliatory tariffs and how that's going to affect us as the consumer? Is this going to be mostly kind of behind the scenes, governments just kind of fighting it out in the media, and it's not really going to affect you as the consumer?
That's highly likely. We might have a little bit of pain along the way for certain things that you get out of Canada, like Canadian maple syrup or Canadian lumber.
Yeah.
But as far as the bigger picture from an automotive standpoint, which is where we specialize, you may not see a difference. If a tire is made in Canada, well, they'll just switch the brand. They'll end a contract. They'll pause a contract and get it from Akron, Ohio, instead of from Canada.
Until it's resolved.
Right. Or it may never be resolved, and the tariffs may become a standard, which is what President Trump is looking at. If that's the case, which is what we did before 1913, if that's the case, well, then more jobs come here. How do we know this? Well, we just said.
Yep.
Audi, Porsche, they're going to build a plant here. Expansion of the other plants. We know that Hyundai's building a larger plant in Georgia. They've got a plant also in Alabama, and they're all starting to expand in non-union and union states. Yep. We've also been told that Stellantis is going to make the Detroit facility much larger. And what all that comes into is the expansion of more jobs, more product being produced here, bring things back like the CHIPS Act, which is, remember, we had a chip shortage during COVID?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, and it was bad.
I think we did maybe a couple of stories on that.
Yeah, just a few. But we do a lot. And the whole idea is that The U.S. auto industry faces uncertain times, and this is probably a good thing because they've gotten very complacent, the industry as a whole, saying whatever the government says, we're going to do it, and they take losses, and then you pay the difference when you go to buy a vehicle saying, hold on, a car was $39,000 before COVID, and now it's at $50,000. Where's the $10,000 difference?
Exactly.
You're paying that difference. Some of it's from lost profits. Some of it is greed. You can call it that if you wish. But overall, the potential policy shift could be really good for us, giving us more cash to spend. So before you go crazy and you think, oh my God, I have to get a car, just take a breather. We've covered recently that car prices will soften in the spring once we see all of those reduction of interest rates drop. It takes some time to trickle down.
Yep.
Inventories are huge.
Yeah, absolutely massive right now.
Everywhere you go.
And it's a huge problem for every manufacturer and every dealer.
Even Tesla.
Which, maybe means that you're going to get a deal despite, and keep in mind, there's so many cars sitting on lots right now that even if something does get imported with a huge tariff on it, that could still be, a year, 2 years away from you even seeing that vehicle with the, unless you're buying something brand new.
Right.
Brand new, which not everybody is.
But used vehicles are still strong.
You go. Used vehicles are strong. You go to a dealership and you want to buy a vehicle that's 1 year old with the options and color that you want.
Let someone else take the depreciation and the hit.
Well, it'd be the dealership taking the depreciation and the hit.
But I think there's a lot of cars we've seen and we've reported on dealers sitting on cars over a year, like 400 days. Like, how do you stay in business? And you know that not just by what we're saying, but we're also hearing stories of manufacturers giving more money to dealers to offset what they call floor planning, because they take the vehicle in and they just pay the interest rate. And so that interest rate can add up very quickly every month after month. That's why at the end of the month, it's a better idea to buy a car, because at the first of the month, the interest rate is due again. And so that adds up. And if you have to keep it for a year, you're basically taking a loss. So car manufacturers are trying to offset that, but they can't keep giving money away and increasing prices so high and taking a loss on electric cars, because they're putting themselves in a death spiral.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what is any closing thoughts that we want to wrap up here so that, everybody who's watching can, take away a little nugget of information with them so they know what's, what the key points are.
Number one, don't panic. If you want to buy a new car, go shop around. If you can wait till the spring, great idea. Lots more vehicles, lots of incentives, a lot of new product coming out. We've reviewed them all on the Car Smarts channel.
Yep.
All the 25s. I think there's a lot of nervousness because the mainstream media is hyping it. But in reality, it looks like this tariff thing could be really, really valuable for us. We have to be patient and wait. And as we bring more jobs back, that means better paying jobs for everybody.
Yep.
That means that we're going to help the economy. And if it stops federal income tax, I'm so in for that.
I would pay for that.
Well, you wouldn't. You aren't paying for that. Wait a minute.
Well, and so thank you so much for watching, and we hope that you found some value out of this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Right, and you can follow me on all forms of social media. You can support our channel by buying me a cup of coffee. Link for that is down below. You can find Paul at PaulFix3.
Yep, I mostly live on Instagram sharing funny car stuff that I find.
And also you're on Twitter. Everywhere at Lauren Fix. Remember, car reviews are at Car Smarts. All car information right here at Car Coach Reports. Thanks so much for watching.